Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Pot of Gold podcast, where we talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. Today on the show, I have Gage Garber, who specializes in helping real estate investors and other entrepreneurs generate leads for their business so that they can get clients into the door. They can provide the value that they're offering with their businesses, maximize the amount of opportunity that they get to be able to help other people. Gage has also been a real estate investor in the past, and he's customer base is primarily wholesalers and people who do transactional lending like Gators. And then we're just trying to help those types of people get more advantage out of the businesses that they are building. Now, the CRM or customer relationship management software that Gage helps people with is called Button Leads. And I just wanted to say, Gage, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you, Nathaniel. I'm happy to be on.
It's kind of exciting. There's definitely a lot to being an entrepreneur, and it's easy to get kind of lost on what the next step is. Would you be able to explain the basics of what a CRM is and what it does for someone who's new to the field?
The most easiest way to explain it is it's an organizational tool. You can take notes, you can have details of your contacts or your leads, and you can also use these CRMs to do outreach. So you can talk to them, you can text them, you can email them. And in a gist, that's what a CRM does.
Okay, so make sure that you don't forget about people that you're trying to cultivate a relationship with.
Right. So it's just, think of a Google sheet amplified by a million. So a lot
All
of
right.
organization, you're actually able to contact them. There's much more tools you can integrate within it. It can get real deep, way over my head. That's why I have a partner. But there is a lot to a CRM, but at its simplest form, it's for organization.
Okay, well, that's really good because I know a lot of business owners who do not have organization as one of their core skills. It's do the next
Very
thing
common.
and run to the next thing and then run to the next thing, which can work because you're definitely there's value to momentum. But if you can get it organized, then you're just going to amplify your results.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, I'm kind of curious, how did you come to the realization that this is the aspect of business that you wanted to focus on?
The quick answer to that is it's the one thing that made me money. I went dead broke when I moved to Phoenix, Arizona from Dallas. I was around 23 at the time, and I was wholesaling in Dallas and I was door knocking. And when I moved to Phoenix, I tried to do the same model and it did not work the same. My niche of my door knocking in Dallas was very specific. It was for houses that were distressed, and the flippers would flip it or knock it down and do a new build. Very easy to find in Dallas. In Phoenix, completely different real estate. Everything there is already pretty new. I didn't really know what I was doing. So I got into the door knocking for about 6 months. I didn't make $1. I started paying rent, was my first time paying rent, had to pay for my own meals, right? Because I moved out of my parents' house. And very quickly I was like, I don't think I can pay my rent next month. And at the time, I was around Kevin Cho. If y'all don't know, he's a very successful wholesaler, um, very young at the time as well. And he saw that what I was trying to do, which was door knocking through the day. In the mornings, I would cold call agents, and I would do it within a CRM. I built out the automations myself. It worked great. Now, did I have the skills to close? Not really. But he saw something in my automations that he thought that his team needed. He was doing about 30 to 40 deals a year at the time, and he was all through Google Sheets, all manual, and he was crushing. So don't think that just because you don't have automations that you won't crush. You definitely can, but to scale and do much more, you need a system. So he had a lot of people in place helping them, but they were all doing everything manual. So he asked me if I could build out a system. In the back of my head, I was like, there's no way I can build what he needs. But I just said yes anyways, because I thought it'd be an amazing opportunity to take. I did it. It took me about a month to build. He paid me. It covered my rent. And I was like, that was amazing. That was easy, right? And I loved doing it. It was super fun. I could put my headphones on. I could work at night. I didn't have to call anybody. I just sat there and built a system. He then was asked, how are you so successful? How did you do from 40 deals to 60 deals to 70 deals, all the way up to 90 deals in 1 year? And he said, I use Gage for my automations. So a few months after I built out his system, a lot of people started coming to me asking about this exact system that I had. And I would do a one-on-one project pretty much where I would go into their business, I would build it out. It would take 2 to 3 weeks to a month to have it built out. I get paid. It was awesome. But there was a lot of people coming in, and it took a lot of work for every person to build. And then I didn't even know, but I learned about agencies and white labeling Go High Level. So I jumped into that. I bought an agency and I started taking on clients, super low ticket, and just allowing them to have access to that same system. So that's how I started about 2 years ago, was with those same automations that I built Kevin and his team. I would supply those out to anyone who wanted to join Button Leads, which at the time was just a simple pipeline with a few workflows in it.
Well, it's not that now, right? You've kind of got it all kind of systematized for your own business model, and now you're offering it as a service to other investors. What was the change that happened along the way for that?
The same thing that happened with Kevin was I had a lot of opportunities to work with high level people. There are a lot of high level people that would come into my system and they required a lot of customizations. And I was like, I will do this for you, but let me sell the same thing out to anyone else who needs it. So we had people come in who were doing pre foreclosures. We had people come in that were lending. We had people come in that were doing direct to seller, direct to agent cash, off market, low equity, all the sorts. And I would have that customized to them and their team. And because they were super high level, it required a lot of automations and technicalities and making it as simple as possible. So that's how I was able to have a huge amount of options for any sort of investor to sort of come in and have access to those pipelines. So it was just that for the longest time. It was just, here are the pipelines, watch these videos, hope you can figure it out, and good luck. I quickly started to see, as a one-man show at the time, was that the support questions were overwhelming. I almost stopped signing people up because there were so much support questions that were required to keep the operation running and my clients happy. Because first and foremost, this was my brand. They all knew it was coming from me, and I wanted them to be happy. So it took a lot of support. And what I noticed is that all of them were all visionaries. And as a visionary, if you don't know what a visionary is, they're go, go, go. They want to do the thing. They don't want to have to think about it or learn about how to make it happen. They just want to do it. And I noticed that my successful clients, like Kevin Cho, like Ryan Trope, I was operating their system for them. I would pull their lists. I would skip trace them. I would import them. I would start their campaigns. And I would operate the front end as well as the back end in terms of buying the phone numbers, setting up their workflows, customizing it for them. And they had success because they were more hands-off and just involved in talking to the leads that were generated by my automations and the lists that I was pulling for them. So about a year ago, literally 2 weeks ago, was our 1 year anniversary. I brought on my partner, Luis Santana, and I came to him as a software engineer. I met him at a meetup, so through networking. And I told him, like, hey, man, I have this idea. I don't have any proof of concept that'll work, but I want to sell this thing as a done-for-you service. It's going to require you to do all the work. I'll be the face of it, I hope, with all the automations at first, but I need you to pull the list. I need you to skip trace it. I know you're a wizard with all the data. I need you to make this vision happen. And he's like, yeah, man, let's do it. So the first month we made, a lot of money from the services that we're offering, because out there we realize that a lot of people they don't want to do the work, and they'll pay whatever it takes just to sit inside of their role of talking to leads. And as long as they can just focus on that, their success rate was skyrocketing. So people were like, I love Button Leads. It makes it so much easier for me to just talk to leads. At the time, Luis Santana was our only account manager, I saw that having an integrator on your team was what our clients needed to be successful. Everybody needs some sort of integrator. Not everybody needs a full-time split 50-50, right? They just need somebody doing the operations. So we scaled until Luis could not handle any more clients. And we started hiring out, building a team, having a back end, having all these automations built to help us provide that one-on-one value. And still today, our clients, they get an account manager, they set everything up for them. They're able to text them when they need help. They're able to hand off a lot of the system work to them, and they can just focus on calling leads. So yes, we did start from just automations all the way to where we are today is we can run ads, we can pull the lists, we'll start your campaigns, we can cold call, we can do the prop AI outreach, add AI bots, whatever. But from where we were of here's a system, try to figure out to here's a system, just wake up every morning and call these leads in your pipeline stage and good luck from there.
Well, that sounds like you've done a lot of work since I was looking at the CRM myself. It's very interesting to see how things progress in people's businesses once you make the connection with them and to see their progression over time. So that's really cool. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So my curiosity is leaning towards this idea of what you'd mentioned, done for you. I have some kind of an understanding of the service type businesses are separated a little bit differently based on do it yourself, done for you, or done with you. Why did you decide do it for you was the model that you wanted to pursue?
Because a lot of the money making activities in a wholesaler space is being on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
And the most successful wholesalers out there, they know how to delegate and put themselves on the phone as much as they can. And some of them already have those systems in place. They have those operators. They have a whole team hired out. Some people, they have this skill set, but they just don't have the time to build a team, have to manage them, have to train them on how to do it. So I thought of ourselves as a one-stop shop as, hey, you can plug into our system or our service and you can hit the ground running on day one.
Okay. So what I'm getting from what you're saying is that everybody has a single activity that's going to drive more revenue in their business than anything else. And what every business owner should be doing is identifying what that one activity is, focusing all their efforts on that one activity, and then delegating the rest of it so that they are maximizing the amount of return they can generate.
I think that sounds about right. That equation sounds like it equals money.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear. I like the way we kind of laid that out. So it's easier for people to understand what they need to focus on. If I were to say that's your core question you need to answer, what's the number one thing that you should be focusing all of your energy and efforts on so that you can make the money happen?
Yeah, I think for any business owner, it's always good to kind of start out and learn and try everything. And when I started, I was doing everything. It's not like I started on day one and had a partner and we delegated out the teams. I knew what the system was, and I knew that our support had to be top tier. That was number one. When I brought on my partner, I said, you have to be the support, you have to be available, and I need everything to be done how they asked and more. When he started his side of our team, which was pulling the lists and importing them, all that stuff, he got that model like from me because I was already doing it for a couple of our clients, right? So I already did it. I hated it, but I knew that that was our model was to be able to do this exact thing that I'm doing, but I can't scale if it's just me.
Mm.
So it did take just me to figure out the systems and the model. And then when I brought in someone else to take it over, then I knew, okay, I freed up my time. He can do it way better than me too, because he's an actual software engineer and can find good data and knows all these data sources that I did not. So now we can actually provide real value on that side of it. And then I can go out and talk about it and meet people and sell it as long as I know that we can provide it when we sell it. Because at the beginning, before I had them, I was scared to even sell it anymore because I didn't want my reputation to go down because I
Okay.
couldn't provide.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think the Dan Martell talks about that as being what he calls the pain line, where you're afraid to take on more business because you're not sure you're going to be able to deliver on the promises that you make.
Yeah.
And so what you have to do is learn how to trade uh, some of your resources to get more time back. Very
Yeah.
cool.
And having the systems in place, first and foremost, there's something, I believe it goes DDD or RRR. Like, so you record it, you replicate it, and then you deliver. I don't really know the acronym, but that's something that we started doing as we scaled. Was everything that I've been doing, I've been recording. Everything that my partner does, he records. So when we do bring on a team member or someone to hire, we can just have those videos sent to them. They need to watch them. So we can still focus on what we have to do instead of taking time away from what we're already doing just to train somebody. So record, save it somehow, create some sort of training, and then that's when you can delegate it, because you don't want to start to delegate and then now your time's taken away from having to train them and delegate them because you have to be over here, but now you have to train this guy. And then, like, while you're in the middle, you're losing that value that you can bring in your business instead of just doing it now, recording it, writing down notes. So when you're ready to delegate, it's just, here's all the information. I need you to watch this.
And part of that is because a lot of the businesses that we have in our modern age are kind of a virtual thing. You're not in the same office with all of your employees, right?
Right. I mean, when I lived in Phoenix with Luis, I probably saw him in the total of the 8 months that we worked together while I was there 2 times.
Okay, yeah. So it's a little bit different if you have someone that can like sit right next to your desk and listen to you make calls or conversations or watch you do your processes. You have to do these recordings to be able to show them these things because they can't be there present with you to just kind of shadow and observe.
Right, right. A lot of our service is one-on-one Zooms. So that also allows when we bring on, let's say, a new account manager for that role that's talking to our clients, they could just jump in and sit in the background of that Zoom and watch a live or watch it live. So that's helped a lot with our training is them being involved because we do a lot of Zooms with our clients. It's easier for us to say, this is what it should look like. This is what happens if there's a problem. This is how you handle it. All these things. That's the great thing about the virtual space is that they can always jump in or it can be recorded and sent to them later.
Mm-hmm.
But that is a huge advantage of working in the digital space.
Well, and it's been something that's been really exciting to me personally because I realized that we're one of the first generations that has the opportunity to leave permanent video for our posterity. So in say 50 years, and I'm not around anymore, my grandkids can go and look at the progress that their grandfather made as he started his business and gained skills and developed and be able to see that that's something possible for them. And so I'm excited
That's
to be
very
able to
true.
leave something
That's
like that
pretty
behind
cool.
for them as well.
That's a good point. Yeah. I don't know if they want to go through my Snap stories. That's about all the videos I have.
They can watch the highlights. I don't expect them to watch my entire life, right? But there's going to be comparisons between the videos that you first start when you're first starting out, and say like, look at the difference between Hormozy's videos when he first started out to where he's at right now. If he ever has
Right.
kids, they'll be able to see that hey, Dad went through this progression where he wasn't skilled, and he obtained skills over time, and then became really good at what he does. And so that if I just follow that kind of a pattern, I could be really good at what I want to do too.
That's a really good point. And I want to start recording what I'm doing. I think it'd be really cool for people to see. And sometimes people like me that they have that stuck mindset of why would anyone want to watch what I'm doing? But I think, anyone's journey is cool as long as it's engaging and interesting.
Yeah.
And there's probably a lot of moments I was like, man, I wish I did record that. Like, I wish I was recording when I had $0 in my bank account or I had $234 in my bank. I flew home, from New Orleans, and to get my car out of the airport parking lot was $234. And that day I hit zero. And I wish I
Wow.
had that on recording of just like, at the time I knew I'd figure it out. I never lost faith. I was like, I will figure it out. But I wish I just hit record and turned the camera around and said, I'm at $0 and let's see what happens. And to look back on it now, it would be really cool to look at myself when I was broke and just think, that mindset of not wanting to give up. I would love to remind myself of that sometimes, because sometimes I feel overwhelmed, but it's
Yeah,
at least you're not at zero, right? Like at least
definitely.
you're growing.
No, I like that perspective because sometimes it's easy to forget. It all depends on what you're focusing on, right? Because you could focus on three different things. You could focus on the past, you could focus on the present, or you could focus on the future. And often,
Mhm.
if you're not focused on the present, then you're wasting energy and time because the future hasn't happened yet. There's no way to know what it's going to look like. In the past, there's nothing you can do to change it. So why are you wasting your energy there? But it's
Right.
good to be able to look back and glean lessons from things like that moment you're talking about.
Yeah, I think recording your good moments, your bad moments can help in some way if you feel stuck, if you feel down. I love going through my photos and just looking back at some good times I've had. Or if I need some motivation, I have a few videos of me driving out to Phoenix from Dallas where I didn't know what was going to happen. And I look back at those sometimes, and not once in my mind did I ever think I would be in the CRM space, right? I'm not a techie guy. I'm not a nerdy guy. I'm really not. I just hit dead zero, and sometimes you have to do what it takes. But having that entrepreneurial spirit of just, I am going to work for myself, even if I have to sleep in my car for however long, and I would never work for somebody else. That's what drove me. And I'm sure it drives a lot of other entrepreneurs, is having that freedom of not having to clock in, not having to ask for time off. I quit my job because my boss at the time said, you can't go on vacation. I said, that's the last straw. I'm out of here because I know I can figure it out. um, so there's just going, I know we're kind of going off the rails with the whole recording stuff, but it's cool to just be able to look back and see your different stages in life and how you've grown. And especially, I look back at my sales calls all the time and I cringe so hard at the very first ones. It's, what am I even talking about here? Why am I stuttering so much? It's just, you could tell I was so nervous because at heart, I'm not a sales guy. I hated
Yeah.
talking to sellers, I hated talking to agents, but sometimes you just have to do what you have to do. And right now, I'm trying to scale out myself of the sales role. That's my job. So I'm doing a lot of recordings. I'm watching them. I'm throwing a bunch out because I don't want him to see those because they're just awful, right? But but we're always trying to grow, you know.
Well, I think it's important to do those recordings just so that you can get a better gauge of what's going on with the process, because you can look at it and say, okay, these are things I did good, these are things I didn't do so good, and then you can try to change it for the next call, and you get real-time
Mhm.
feedback.
Yeah, it hurts to watch, but you need to
Yeah,
watch them.
yeah. But sometimes pain's what's required for growth, right? So that's
Absolutely, that's a
definitely
great.
helpful. I like that. Well, that's really cool. What would you think would be some maybe pitfalls or setbacks that new entrepreneurs should avoid? I mean, you mentioned that you ended up going broke before you found your solution. I imagine a lot of people want to avoid that kind of a scenario, but you think that's what's required?
I don't think so. I think that is a huge milestone in my life, and sometimes it takes having your back against the wall for you to get that fire under your butt to start doing something and start thinking quick of not what could I possibly do to make money, but what do I already have right now that is making money. So when I was asked to build out that CRM, I knew that there was a payment involved, and I knew that was the only thing I could do right now. And I wouldn't say everyone should go out and try to go broke, but for me, it worked.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, I'm sure it has. I've heard a lot of stories of the same thing. I was sleeping in my car. I was $900 million in debt, right? There's all these stories of people having to be at rock bottom to find themselves and find what they're good at, what they like doing. But the one thing I did learn from going broke is to just do it. So when I first started wholesaling, it took me about 3 months to start marketing. I had to buy my LLC. I thought I had to get a website. I thought I needed a logo, all these mailers. It had to look pretty. It took months for people to get back with me. Hey, it's just your logo. No, I don't like it. Whatever. So silly. So not worth your time. What makes you money is the action. So when I started selling button leads, I made my logo on an airplane. I made my name through ChatGPT. I used my old LLC. I need to jump in right now and start doing it. So if
Mm,
anything's holding you back, if it's analysis paralysis, whatever, that is real. And it took for me to go to rock bottom to completely throw out any analysis paralysis and just take action. So if you think you have an idea, if you think you have something or you have proof that something is working, keep doing it. And it may not be what you do in a year, but you'll learn something, you'll find new opportunities, and just taking action is the drive source. That energy is what the universe will pay you back in. Is you take action, you put in the work, and you provide value, it's going to come back to you tenfold, right? So I started with just having a template, and now we do marketing. So I never thought that I would ever be in this space, and it just takes
yeah.
doing it to see the opportunities that you have.
Well, it's interesting because if you're moving, you can make course corrections, but you can't make a course correction if you're not moving.
Right.
So get out there and take action. Don't worry about it being perfect. You have permission to do it messy and imperfect. Just go out and
Yes,
do something.
100%.
Well, that's really cool. As far as educational materials or resources you think would be helpful for people that are looking to quit their W-2 and become an entrepreneur, what are the things to focus on? And we talk about action, and you mentioned that focusing on a website and a logo and the LLC, those things weren't the things that were making you money. Are you thinking that they need to go out and sell something, or what kind of action are you thinking specifically?
You always have to sell something, right? Sell, sell, sell. As Robert Kiyosaki says, is if you can't sell, you're never going to make it, right? Educational material. I mean, up until when I was wholesaling, I read all the books, listened to all the podcasts, and sure, I did 6 deals or so. But when I jumped into my real business, zero education, all experience. So it's hard for me to say, I don't think it's what you want to hear, but I think that the best teacher is experience. And you can read everybody's story and all these things and all these books of how they did it, but you're going to have your own story. And
Mm,
taking action is what creates your story. If you know something, right? If you have some skill set and you know that the marketplace needs that, and if it's enough to supplement your expenses and you want to quit your job and you don't have a family, probably do it, right? I don't have a family, so it's easy for me to say I can, you know, like going broke was easy because I
yeah,
was just worried
dive
about
all in.
myself. I can eat ramen, I can skip a meal, right? Essentially, if you can take the risk, I think taking the risk is worth it as long as you have the discipline to withstand the weather.
Got
If
it.
you can
I like
withstand
that.
the weather, do it. If you aren't positive you can handle it and you think you'll go back to your safe space, of your W-2 or whatever, if that's your plan B, I wouldn't do it. If your plan B is sleeping in your car, figuring it out, uh, skipping meals, living off of ramen, I think you have what it takes to do it and you'll figure it out. I think as every great entrepreneur has always said that drove me was you can't fail if you don't quit. And
Yeah.
that really kept me on my feet and going when times got tough.
I had a kind of a similar moment back, I'd say 8 or 9 years ago. I was working customer service, making phone calls for CenturyLink Internet and cable television of all things. And I hated that, sitting in that cubicle, getting yelled at all day long because people don't want to talk to you. You're bothering them. And I had this realization that there were people in that cubicle office with me that were in their 80s that were forced to come into work every day at the very end of their lives because they didn't have a retirement and they didn't have enough Social Security to make ends meet. And so they were stuck talking to people upset at them on phone calls all day long. And I was like, if I don't make a change, I'm going to be that person, because I realized that I don't have anything that sets me apart in the market. And so I did one of the most terrifying things in my life. I quit my job to go back to school to learn a trade. And I was scared because I had no idea if it was going to work. But looking back on it, I realized that the reason it did work was that I committed 100% to working on the solution. And I don't think it would have worked if I hadn't done that.
It definitely takes the mindset of this is going to work or it's going to work. There's no other option.
But it worked really good for me, because after I got hired on at the college campus, delivering packages, I ended up with an internship, and over the course of like 7 or 8 years, I tripled the income I was making at the customer service place.
That's crazy.
So it's definitely all boils down to action. You got to move forward. You got to make changes. And if something you're doing is not working, you have to recognize that and pivot. Just keep moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I really appreciate all your insights on the show here today, Gage. If people wanted to connect with you or even find out about Button Leads, where would they go to do that?
Buttonleads.com. As of right now, I'm the only one taking the call. So if you want to schedule a call and meet me, you will get me. I will show up. If you want to have a chat with me, you can message me through Facebook, Gage Garber. Pretty sure I'm the only one out there. I think there might be some kid in Scotland. I don't know if he's still around, but I remember there used to be one more. Or Instagram at Gage_Garber.
All right, and I'll make sure that I include all of those links in the YouTube description so people can reach out to you. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we end the interview today?
Yeah, I do. Do it. Just do it. The old saying, the classic sayings written all over the signs, right? Just do it. Take action. You'll figure it out. Even if this thing that you start doing is not what you're going to be doing in a year, you're going to thank yourself for taking that action and failing however many times it takes. You'll thank your past self. So go out there, take action, fail, learn, and don't give up.
Definitely.
And that's it.
And that I'd like to just end that with the fact that all of us that are doing business, we want to see each other succeed. And so if you need help for some reason, ask us for help. Say, this is the thing I'm struggling with, and we'll tell you, get your butt in gear. We'll tell you the actions to take and then tell you to go do it. This has been the Pot of Gold podcast. We talk about finances, wealth generation, and real estate investing. And thank you so much for tuning in.
Bye.